Hey, good afternoon to you, everyone. I'm Jacob Dickey here in the Weather Center. Wanted to give you an update on our chance for some strong to severe storms. Now that we're starting to see things evolve a little bit more and what we can expect from that here. At this point, the time now that we are starting at is 3:18, about to be 3:19 here in a few seconds. And so maybe you're watching this later. Just know that this may not be the latest information, but if you're with us live now, just give you a little sneak peek into what we are watching and what we are looking for here across the region. First off, we are quiet for now across much of central Illinois. Not much to worry about, not much concern. That likely changes over the next few hours. Some of us have a severe thunderstorm watch in place, and that goes through, I believe it's 8 o'clock tonight. And it's been expanded to include Jacksonville and Springfield now. So we've got Morgan, Sangamon, Christian, Shelby, Effingham counties, as well as Macoupin, Montgomery, and Fayette counties on that. Folks that are watching in Decatur, Mattoon, Charleston, Champaign-Urbana, Danville. No watch yet, but I think maybe there's a chance we'll see a watch extended as we move a little bit further into the evening hours here, a little bit further into the night. Currently, at some of our current conditions, one of the things that we are watching for is a warm front. Warm fronts are a little bit different than cold fronts. A lot of times you get a sweeping line on cold fronts, but sometimes when you get those warm fronts set on in, they can be a little mischievous, and that's some of the concern we have today. That warm front has actually, looks like it's already started to lift through Champaign-Urbana, which has pushed it pretty quickly here. And so that's a bit more of a concern for us here in the I-74 corridor. You'll see we're at 74 in Champaign, 66 in Bloomington, 63 in Watseka. So I think that warm front's somewhere in this area right here, low mid-70s. The sun is out in Champaign now. Stepped out there, and we sent Seth out the door to go on the storm tracker. And so we are seeing some of that sunshine and that milder air come on him. Another way we can look at it is our dew point values. Where are they at? Maybe our warm front's a little further to the south here than that, but we can see we're warming and starting to clear signs that it's lifting here. Still some dew points, only 51 in Champaign. It'll take maybe an hour or two before that gets set, but we're going to see these low 60s fill on into the region here. So some obvious signs that our warm front, as expected, lifting to the north here, gaining that clearing and that warmer air. That south wind going to help also to bring in that warm, unstable air into the region. And wind gusts there, you can see that south wind and south and east wind still in place here. So we'll be watching that, see what happens ahead of our storms coming out of the west of us here for the next little bit. Let's take a look at radar right now and show you where those storms are. Already, we've got a couple of storms out to the west of us that are moving pretty quick in our direction here. We jump down here. Looks like coming into Pike County, Illinois. Probably going to see a new warning coming for Pike County, Illinois here in the next few minutes. A storm here near Bowling Green, Missouri has some quarter to golf ball size hail and some 60-mile-an-hour winds. And then there's another storm as well here to the south and west of that. These storms should continue on an easterly track. That'll bring them close to the I-72 corridor. And they're more isolated, which is interesting to see here. Look at a more isolated mode. That may help with, if they can tap into that instability that's coming to the north ahead of them here, that may help with the chance for severe weather to continue for several more hours with them. They may cluster more into a line before all is said and done. And I think the general consensus is we'll see a line of storms come on through. It's not going to be a worst case scenario day today, but certainly it's April. Anytime we get the chance for storms in April, we keep an eye out. And today the risk is there for some of those strong storms in the region. Heading towards those storms now, we've actually got Seth out there now. He's on I-72 heading west in the storm tracker. And looks like he's past the Mahomet exit and moving on 72 to the west there, probably be in Monticello in the next 5 to 10 minutes. And we'll probably set him up in Decatur to Springfield to kind of watch and see, and he'll adjust as those storms move in our general direction. As we look at these storms, much more of a supercellular look to it than anything here. So likely, I think they're probably drawing up a warning now into Pike County, Illinois. So that's still a good 60 miles away from the western edge of our viewing area. And it will take some time for this to traverse in our direction, but we'll keep an eye on it. Something we have noted is that this storm has had some rotation with it. It's not been overly strong, and there's been some questions on whether it's actually based at the surface where it can tap into that rich instability, or if it's more elevated with some stable air dividing it between the surface. So we'll see how that plays out here, but that rotation there, a sign that at least we've got a rotating updraft with some hail potential. And the one behind it as well, kind of showing that same general idea. And so we'll keep an eye on that here. I will say the hail, probably a good bet that these storms are going to have some hail with it. We've been thinking there could be some golf ball size hail with any storms that sneak into our area. It's going to take a minute for the data to load on this. There we go. And why don't I put on the hail swath just to see if we can't get that to show us any sort of trend or track with the hail. So there you go. You can see some of these pinks showing up. When you see some pink and purple like that, that tends to be more in the quarter to golf ball size range. Maybe come down a little bit, but it does show that general eastward track. And so that's something that we will watch. Things can change. It may lift a little more one way or the other, but gives us kind of an idea of where storms are heading here as we move on through. Before I talk about the risks, I do want to bring you a couple of points of information, and then we'll talk about what we expect for the risk and bring you future track. First off, I like to say be prepared, not scared. Sometimes folks have anxiety about weather, and I get that here. Sometimes storms can be scary, and some folks probably are thinking after some of the storms we've had, like, as long as you got at least 2 ways to get weather information, you'll be okay. You have information, you know what to do, and you're able to connect to that, whether that's watching us on TV, on our live stream like we are now, just keeping an eye on things. Of course, your mobile device. One thing about sirens, there's a siren mentality where people expect to hear those, and they're not really as reliable as you think they would. First off, every area has a different policy, and second off, if it's raining hard and they go off or you're sleeping, that might not work. So that's why we always encourage a NOAA weather radio. The other thing, our new service, and if you haven't heard of this yet, this is called Weather Call. And I'm going to throw a comment in the chat here about that, just to give you an idea of what this is. If Weather Call is a way for us to directly call you when there is a tornado warning, a severe thunderstorm warning, or a flash flood warning issued for your area. It's only $12 a year. That's it, $1 a month. For some people, that $1 a month is great to relieve from anxiety. And what you'll see here is if you're in the warning, you get a phone call. Kevin Lighty is going to call you and tell you, hey, there's a storm coming your way. If that warning is upgraded to a confirmed tornado warning, you get another phone call. This is especially great for folks who maybe rely on landlines. They have a fixed location. Maybe they're not as great with technology on cell phones. So this is really great for that. And the other thing is that if you're sleeping at night, I don't know about you, sometimes I get really tired. And when I do sleep, once in a blue moon, I sleep hard. Like I cannot wake up. It takes a loud noise to wake me up here. This is a way that you can rest through the night and say, hey, I know storms are coming, but Weather Call will keep me guarded if there's a severe weather threat. So you can click on this link here in the bottom or check the comments there for that link, as it's a great way to stay connected. $12 a year. We try to keep that cost as low as we can. It's just some infrastructure with the phone calls and whatnot. So really consider that service. And maybe you say, hey, I already got the app. I already got the wireless emergency alerts. This may not be for you, but I know my grandparents, if they were still around, would have loved to have a service like this. I put in their home location, they get a phone call. And that's a great way just to inform folks of that. So that could very much be an option for you or someone you know and or love. So a family member. There also are ways for you to take this with you on the go. So maybe you're in the RV lifestyle. You like to camp. You're doing that. You can actually log on to your account and reset your location for 3 days. While you're there, for those 3 days, it will be your new location that you set to send you alerts in that. You get 2 phone numbers and 2 emails accounts for a phone number and an email. I think it's 2 each for that. So you can have maybe, I sign my wife up for that. So that's an option. Again, it's just $12 a year. Just a way we've been able to offer a new service for that. So I'm going to leave that QR code there, and it'll show up in the top. Looks like it's right here. There it is. So I'll leave it right there for you to kind of monitor. And that way, if you want to answer that or look into that, that might be an option for you. Okay, let's talk about the storms, where they are, what they're doing, and what's going on here. And I think they're going to have, they got the new warning out that's going to be extended into Illinois here. You can see now Pike County with that warning that includes not quite to our area, getting close. There's Scott County, Winchester, Morgan County is right there. Let's see if they're issuing this for quarter size. Okay, they're going ping pong ball size hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds of that. That's a pretty realistic question. Probably a few hours. Springfield points to the south, probably an hour and a half away from you from this storm, and it'll continue in that direction. We may see some sort of upward trend towards a linear segment that comes along here and moves on through. And depending on how far north our warm front can get, our instability, that line may continue to build more to the north. So somewhere along this leading edge, for right now, I-72 in south, but I won't rule out north of I-72 as we continue through the afternoon and evening hours for that to be the case where we have the risk for severe weather. As far as the Storm Prediction Center, there's a new update coming out. Actually, it looks like it just came out. Let me double check that before I say something wrong. They have an update. It usually comes out about 3:30 now, and it looks like that this is their most recent update. So they're going to keep that enhanced risk. That includes Taylorville, Shelbyville, Mattoon, Charleston, Effingham. This is primarily for wind, but you can see the slight risk pretty much goes all the way further to the north. And while Bloomington and Watseka are right there on the edge, really the true dividing line is going to be how far north that warm front gets. There's a chance that warm front could stall further here. Chance it keeps going to the north. That's what we have to watch. But if you're in that higher risk area, that's going to be a better chance for you to have severe weather because we feel more confident that that warm front lifts through. And then there's still some question marks in the I-72 corridor and points to the north. But we do have a slight risk, a standard slight risk for severe weather for us. A lot of folks ask, hey, what's my tornado risk? What are we looking at here? Well, here's the latest numbers. We're at a 1 in blue, a 3 in green, and we'll be at a 5 down here along I-70, where maybe the greatest chance for one of those storms that's more supercellular looking to continue on through is. And you look at 1, 3, and 5. Okay, 3 and 5, we're kind of in that range at this point. That's a fairly standard range here. We see a lot of 3, 4s, and 5s for our severe weather risk. It's relative to our overall risk. The highest risk we can have is a 10 based on that scale. When we get to 6, 7, our eyebrows start to raise. When we're at 8, 9, it's an yeah, and then beyond that, you kind of imagine what 10 would be. So we're at a 3 for most of us, 5 for some of us. That means the threat is low, but it doesn't mean no. So that's something to think about with that here. As far as the wind risk, though, goes, you can see that we've got an area highlighted with this red color here from the lowest to highest. So the greatest potential for that straight line wind is going to be south of 72, but we can't rule it out a little further to the north there. And we think if there's some storms that really can cluster together, we could see some 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts out there. And the best chance for that's going to be the I-70 corridor. We'll keep it at 65 up to I-72. But that may, for a spot or two, trend a little higher, and there should be a sharp cutoff with northward extent on that here. And then lastly, we're keeping an eye on the hail threat here. Some of those storms coming out of western Illinois might have a chance to bring some golf balls. I might think about pulling this a little further to the north here, but the hail threat doesn't seem to be the biggest concern, but yes, there could be some hail with those storms as we move on through. So all of that added together in one graphic, the relative scale here, our greatest potentials for high winds, for more of us to see that. Some of us still could see some large hail up to golf ball size on any stronger storm. And then the tornado threat, while still there, is the lower of the 3. But we'll keep an eye out with warm fronts. Warm fronts can sometimes produce their own wind shear. They can almost be enhanced zone for a tornado potential. And so where that warm front is, there may be a locally higher zone. Again, it looked like down by I-70, but I kind of think I-72 corridor still has the chance for that. And even if it's a line of storms coming across that warm front, that may still help with some shear to give us some rotating updrafts within that. So we're going to watch it, keep an eye on it. Again, this is spring. We shouldn't be surprised by this. So that's kind of how things are. Okay, let me look at future track, kind of get an idea here. Timing seems to be a little off on this. This is 5 o'clock. It's 3:30. So the storms are 4:30. We're about an hour ahead at this point. So why don't I just try and adjust that real quick here? I think I can sometimes manually do that. So if we're an hour ahead, that should maybe look more like this. See if I get that magic trick to work. Whoop. Ta-da. All gone. Here we go. The general timing here. So we're about, that didn't work. Why did that not work? I think I put it the wrong way. Let me adjust that. 60 minutes. Probably what I did is the wrong direction. So how we go. Okay, perfect. So about 3:30. That looks more like about what we have here, doesn't it? A couple of storms coming in Pike County and further down. Not much concern with this up here north of the warm front, but we will have to watch that. You can see here by about 4:30 now, we're entering Jacksonville, and it looks a little more linear, but there are these individual cells within that. So that's doing pretty good overall. Looks like by about 5:15 now, rolling into the western side of Sangamon County. And then we get to 6 o'clock now. Notice how that line is starting to build more to the north. And by this point, that warm front should be somewhere in this region. So that tornado potential may be there slightly higher somewhere in that segment. Not a guarantee, but we got to watch it. So this is 6 o'clock now. Bloomington, Decatur, passed through Taylorville by now, coming into Shelby County. And the one thing you'll notice is that this line of storms does look to bring at least most of us some rain. So we think most all of us tonight are going to have some rain and thunder, some of us a severe threat there. We get to 6:45, 7, and you can see here now that's coming across I-57, that 6 to 7 o'clock window there, starting to move to the east of that. Again, you kind of see these little kinks in there, something to watch, something to keep an eye on. Behind that line, I don't really have a concern for severe weather, but there's still maybe some small hail, some thunder, and some lightning in any of those cells that are there sweeping on through. By about 7:45, 8 o'clock, it's now swept through Danville, crossing into West Indiana, and that should bring an end to our severe threat. We've been saying 4 o'clock through like 8 or 9. I think that's holding pretty good here. We initially kept that broad. We said, hey, from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m., just because the time was moving around a little bit, and we've kind of honed into that 4 to 9. And I think that's been a good proxy for us. You'll see some rain 10, 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock news tonight. We should be good. If there's any damage, we'll have Seth out there. If there's not, it will be a quiet night for us, but some lingering rain. And then the good news is by tomorrow morning, for the most part, things do look a lot better in the region. Let's check with Seth's shot, see if we can see where he's at now. See if I can recognize a few spots here. To me, that looks like Cisco right there in the distance. Looks like he's hit a few bugs as well. He'll have to clean the windshield off. Windshield wiper. Those bugs are not good this time of year, of course. So we'll see if we can hear him. If he's listening at all, he'll be able to just spray those windshield and see what happens. If not, he's just driving, probably listening to some Foo Fighters or something, knowing him, having a good time out there. So he'll be heading west to Decatur. That's Cisco over there. So he's on I-72 westbound in Piatt County now, and I think we'll get him to Decatur and see what happens there and keep an eye on him. In the meantime, I'll do one last check here, and then I'm going to check questions as well. Sometimes we get that. Do know that we have a newscast at 4, at 5, at 6, and that's probably the prime time that we'll have the chance for severe weather, so we'll see what happens. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. So if you've got a question, throw that in there. Maybe you come in late, you can go back and watch it as well. But I wanted to make sure that we take a look at that. That storm coming in, it's moving pretty quick. In fact, I have not seen. Let me query real quick. I want to see the storm speed. The storm speed appears to be moving east at 35 miles an hour, and they're warning that for golf ball-sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds in parts of Pike County and Calhoun County, Illinois. So that's something that we'll watch. That's going to be the storm that keeps an eye on the next one down the line, too. And I kind of like how this one's out by itself. So if there was a tornado potential, this storm certainly has the best chance to do it, maybe. But we'll see how much time we have before things start to line out what we're dealing with. Okay. With that, I'm going to go back to the beginning. Just make sure there's any questions. Christina is saying she's got a ball game in Catlin this evening. At some point, I think you're going to get rain and storms. Depending on when that ball game is, though, may determine when you do or when you're not. And the nice thing about being in Vermilion County is you get to watch everyone have the storms before you and kind of watch them come through the area. But I certainly, after 7 p.m., would be keeping a very close eye to the sky in Vermilion County. Amy down in Altamont, she's a great follower down there, sends me lots of great pictures. She's saying she can feel a bit of humidity. Yeah, when that warm front gets there, you'll kind of be like, there's a touch difference to the air. And so that warm front is starting to lift on through. So Tom was asking about the RV. This was related to weather call, and that's this QR code right here, or if you go back to the comment, you can find that wci.com/weather/weather call. The great thing about it is weather call, you set a home location, but you can set a temporary location based on where you're heading. You can click find my location and it will find where you are and give you that location and give you warnings with that. So I know my parents like to go out to the state parks and with their RV trailer. I know lots of folks love to hit the roads of the summer. You go somewhere, it's primarily based on home, but you do get the option to set it to a fixed location. And I believe it resets every 3 days. The reason they have that reset feature is because if you're out somewhere, you don't want to forget about it when you get home. So it will reset itself back to the default location. So that's one thing that is good. Susie's saying, yes, it's primarily based on home location, not phone location. The phone location is the WCIA3 weather app. That's the primary one for that. Weather call is not going to be for everyone. I know that some of you have been like, about it. The deal is, though, is I know some folks have a landline. Maybe they're not internet savvy, they're not tech savvy. I know our senior citizens, our elderly folks, maybe aren't as able to rely on that. So having this, and $12 a year, I mean, $1 a month is not bad at all. That is something that is well worth looking into, well worth watching, keeping an eye on things. So that is certainly what we're saying about it. It's a home-based location, whereas the app we have is phone-based location. Some of you are weather enthusiasts, and you might get both. I got both. No surprise there, though, but that's certainly what we got with that. So with that, we're going to keep an eye on that storm there to the west of Jacksonville. You can see it clearly looks supercellular. Something to watch, but not anything significant. The thing is also is that if you have weather call and you even live in the severe thunderstorm warning, you can select all severe thunderstorm warnings, or you can select the worst of the worst severe thunderstorm warnings. So you hit that 80-mile-an-hour wind and baseball-sized hail criteria. Maybe you only want warnings after that. You can cater that a little bit so you're not getting over phone called. And that's an option because if you think of the derecho we had last summer, the severe thunderstorm warnings weren't technically activating warning sirens and things of that. So it's just another way where you can cater for what you want with that. Checking out here. Just looking at the other chats, comments, questions. Urbana, I'm probably thinking 6 to 8 p.m. is our best chance. And this is about almost 4 o'clock. It's at the Mississippi River, so that gives it a few hours to come our way. Arcola ball game at 5. You might squeeze it in early, but got to keep an eye on that storm. Will Matt Toon get hit like usual? Y'all have had a rough spring down there, it seems like. So we'll watch, keep an eye for it. It's fun. There's some folks got this policy I've decided to do. It's going to block first and ask questions later for some of you trolls out there. Not going to deal with you. Haley's asking about the timing again. So, yeah, we're going to do one more thing, look at the timing, and then I'm going to wrap up so I get ready for the newscast at 4 here. Again, the storms are out to the west, coming our way, and I don't think that the future track has been doing all that bad here. So we've kind of edited it to make it look like we want. Here's 4:30 now, coming into our viewing area. There we are. By 5:30, it's moving through Springfield. I'll slow that down a little bit. Looks like it's approaching Decatur between 5 and 6. We get it to Champaign-Urbana between 6 and 8. And after 7 o'clock, it's moving into Vermilion County. And again, where that warm front is will generally divide the severe risk. We kind of think that warm front's going to keep lifted north along this line, which brings more of us into the threat, which is certainly what we've been watching. So that is what we got. Thanks for watching. If I have to, I'll jump back on. If not, watching TV, we'll have updates there. We've got stuff in the field and keep you updated with the chance for some of those storms here over the next bit. That is all. We will see you on TV at 4, first news at 4, or if necessary, we'll cut back on digital.